Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Rise podcast with me, your host, Katie Oman, women's empowerment coach, author, motivational speaker, and event organizer. Basically, an all-round kick-ass woman. So I started this podcast because I wanted to share women's stories because I believe categorically with the power of women and the importance of us sharing our stories. They light us up and they give us a roadmap out of our darkness. And every single woman has a story. And I really just love talking to women, hence this wonderful platform. So, as ever, I have another wonderful woman joining us today. I'm so excited that she said yes. So, Camilla Collins, thank you so much for being here with me. It's just awesome.
Oh, Katie, it's awesome to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Really lovely. Really lovely to be. I love the energy. Energy is so important to me, and this is high vibe already, so I'm just loving it.
Oh yeah, we don't come on going, hi, welcome to the, because who wants to watch that? Nobody wants to watch that. You've got to kind of give it the vibe that it deserves, right? So absolutely. So why don't we start by, obviously, as I always do, tell us all about you. What do you do? What's Camilla all about?
Oh my goodness. How long you got? Yeah. Right. So what do okay, well, let's where to start? That was a really big one. So I am a confidence and lifestyle coach. I'm just listening to everything that you do, and I'm like, I just love this woman because I have a lot of things going on as well, and fingers in many pies, but also just lots of things that I love to do and interest me. So coaching is what I'm super passionate about, because I'm really passionate about empowering people to change their self-perception so that they can reimagine the huge amount of power that they already have within themselves, because we have so much power within us, but a lot of it goes untapped because we live in such a distracting world now where everything is vying for our attention. There's so many things, there's so much stuff. And I think, particularly in the social media kind of online world, we're constantly being pulled into this game of comparison with one another as well.
Yeah.
All of this is just taking our attention away from us and how awesome we are and our unique value and our individuality, and forcing us to try and be like others and have what others have. So that is my number one passion, and what a lot of the work that I do in terms of coaching and speaking and workshops and things. But I also have a hair and makeup agency, CJC Hair and Makeup, and also another agency, Glitter and Glow as well, which I'm more of a silent partner now for, so really kind of a founder on that. And I'm also an author as well as you. So in terms of the hair and makeup, that has been my background, and actually what led me into my coaching journey in confidence. I basically, well, two things actually, in this kind of, my book is probably the sort of pivotal, the crossover where I kind of left one industry and sort of went into another. But it was, I think, I was sick and tired of being part of an industry that was really invested in our lack of self-worth. And the beauty industry is, as much as it's creating great things to help people in terms of treatments, I felt like, a lot of the marketing was quite untoward, making people feel worse about themselves in a way, in order to coerce purchasing things that they don't really need. And makeup for me was always about how you use the makeup, not this product and that product, because at the end of the day, it's the same old. I don't think can I swear on this? Or
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. It's the same. It's not even a big square, but it's the same shit at the end of the day, and even like the branded brushes, they all come out the same factory, but they've just got, a branded stamp on them, and therefore, more amounts of money. So I just didn't want to, be part of that, pushing this stuff on people. So that was one thing. And then, I noticed really early on in my career that the conversations that took place in the makeup chair were far more important in a way than actually the makeup that was being applied, in order for people to feel their most confident and comfortable in their own skin. And so I found that quite intriguing. But on the other side as well, I noticed that nearly every single woman that sat in my makeup chair and then looked at her reflection in the mirror immediately apologized for the way that she looked, and in doing so apologized for who she is, or who she was then, and who she is. And it was that, you know, oh, sorry, I didn't sleep very well, I've got bagged, or I've got the spot here, or, you know, it was that immediate kind of uncomfort being faced with yourself and who you are, and that kind of vulnerability. And so that's what called me to, I guess, go on this mission to dig like deep beneath the surface and find out why so many of us feel so uncomfortable, never mind unconfident, but so uncomfortable in our own skin, and why we feel we need to apologize to others for ourselves, and what are the things that are exacerbating that problem at the moment. And yeah, that what led to the book. It led into my speaking and my coaching, and here we are.
Wow, that's incredible. I love that, because I totally agree with you. I think, you know, there's like wonderful quote, isn't there? I can't remember who said it. And it's in the world that profits from us hating ourselves, it's a rebellious act to love yourself. And it really is. The beauty industry, the media, the fashion industry, they all want you to feel like you're a problem that needs fixing. And that if you buy their product or whatever it is, that will be the thing that makes you then worthy. And it's a load of horse crap. It really is. Like, and it's funny, I'm giving a talk on Friday about worth. And I think that we need to appreciate that we are worthy because we are here. That's it. Full stop. It's not about what you look like or what dress size you are or what numbers on the scale. And we need to realize that we're so manipulated literally from birth to think that there's something wrong with us. You know, so the fact that you're doing this work, I think it just feels so desperately needed. You know, I can imagine it's like, feels like a lot of people, especially women, are like emotionally dehydrated almost, you know.
What a great phrase, emotionally dehydrated. That is brilliant. Yeah.
You can have that. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I will take that. Thank you. I'll put that in my pocket for use later. Yeah, no, you're so right. And the thing is, though, and it's not just the beauty industry, it's everything now. It's cars, it's watches, it's, as you said, fashion, it's, you know, everything, houses, holidays, you know, it's the bigger, better sort of next thing, and that is what marketing is. So I mean, in my book there is the beauty bullshit busting section of the book, which outs the marketing tactics, but you could literally just apply those same things to any industry that you like. And you know, I'm not super girly girl, but you know, I like makeup, I like fashion, you know, I think these things are, you know, great little boosts. But I think it's the awareness. I'm like a huge advocate of self-awareness. I always say everything is easier to operate with a manual, and that is including yourself, you know, and that self-awareness builds that manual. And so I think it's just recognizing why we're wearing makeup, why we're wearing certain clothing, why we're doing things. And you know, if we can have a little, and I mentioned this in the book as well, like that, you know, sometimes I don't feel like working out, like going for a workout. And I generally love to work out, but you know, sometimes I'm like lethargic, I can't be asked. I know if I could just quickly put on my gym wear, as soon as I've got my gym wear on, I'm like in the zone. I'm like, cool, I'm ready now. So it's almost like a uniform. So in terms like that, you know, these things can be helpful for us. You know, a swipe of lipstick and you're suddenly like, yes, I'm ready for the day. I'm going to smash this meeting or whatever I'm doing. So it can be helpful when we start relying on those things in order to do anything. Then that's, you know, that's a problem that needs to be addressed. Or, you know, the same with maybe a few drinks in a networking event or a social situation in order to give you the courage to speak. Like, fine, if you're, you know, having a little, you know, want a little boost in a way, but when you're having to go into every social situation and you can't interact with people or feel comfortable without having a drink first, then it's a problem. And I think that's, you know, true of everything. So we just have to have that awareness as to why we're using things and act if they are helping us or in fact hindering us.
Is it a mask that we hide behind? You know, I know a few women who literally wear makeup every single day regardless of what they're doing, because, and I mean full face makeup, I don't just mean like a bit of lipstick and you know, whatever, I mean full face, because they literally don't like the way they look without it, and it's heartbreaking. You know, it's, you won't even give your skin a chance to breathe. You don't know, you know, and what you look like underneath all that stuff. You know, you're hiding yourself from the world. It's I find it very heartbreaking. And yeah, it's difficult, and it's not the mindset is something that, of course, we consistently have to try and turn around. And I think trying to turn around the whole society's mindset is like the slowest moving boat, right? We literally have to, like, steal but doing it one woman at a time is probably the easier way, in a way, rather than getting, because of course you change the individual, you change society slowly but surely.
I think it always starts with you. And, our internal world is a direct reflection of our external world.
Yeah.
What we believe to be true will be true, and what we focus on, or what we choose to focus on, we'll focus on, and we'll see more of, and we'll seek out kind of more of that information. And it's the same with, if you're in a kind of a negative mindset, then you're just going to seek out more shit, essentially.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're, feeling positive, it's just like, oh, the birds are singing, the sun's shining, and, or if it's raining, instead of it's a grey, miserable day, then everything's just horrid. It's like, oh, but, the plants are being nourished. We need this for the ground. And, you think of a better perspective on things.
Mindset is everything. I totally agree. Which brings me into a really good point, actually, because I know in my own life, so when I talk about women empowerment and self-love, it's because I know what it's been like to be on the opposite end of that, because I lived it. So I'm interested in what led you to get into kind of the beauty industry in the first place, and then the coaching. Do you know what it's like to be on the flip side of those feelings?
Oh, yes. So
I feel like I'm analysing you. Tell me about your childhood.
Again, how long we got? So I gave you the second part earlier on my little intro. Here's the first part. So I was in rehab just after my 21st birthday. I went into the Priory Rehabilitation Centre in North London, and that was for alcohol and substance abuse. And essentially my life had become completely unmanageable, and I'd just gone on a real downward spiral for a number of years, and kind of ended up at rock bottom, really. So yes, I know what it feels like to not really feel at all, and to not really want to be here. And in mixed up with, it's just amazing the choice. We are our choices. Such made that, but we, life's made up of choices, and we are those choices that we make, and one choice leads on to another, and it's easy to kind of, for things to spiral out of control. And I think trying to make yourself better, or get well, and you'll never be able to do it if you're in a toxic environment either. So that month that I spent in rehab was really eye-opening, really, and sort of it was kind of like an incubator to and an interruption. I mean, it was many things, and it was technically day in, day out therapy, 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. of like group therapy of talking about feelings. And I think that was probably the most uncomfortable of all. And I think that's uncomfortable to a lot of people nowadays anyway, because we would rather distract. We wanted to go out and talk to other people or do other things than sit with our own feelings or try to process them, because it can feel like a lot, particularly if you haven't done it for a while. So that was me. And when I came out of the Priory, I was starting from scratch. So prior to that, I've always worked for myself, other than prior to that for only about a year after uni, which was 6 months as a what was I? I was a PA. I was a PA in a film marketing company. And then I did 6 months in recruitment. And then I just completely fell apart. So I mean, I was off the rails anyway. But then, so starting from scratch, it was like, what do I want to do with my life? And so I thought back to school and what I was passionate about, as a child, in terms of subjects, and art and theatre was the two kind of main ones. I loved acting, and I loved drama and expressing myself and playing characters as well, kind of all relevant, and also art, just creating things. And so I thought about what can we do with the job wise with that. And I actually went to Central St Martin's Art College before working, but I had such a nurturing environment, I think, at school. I don't know, many schools really prepare anybody for university. It's a bit of like a jump. There's no kind of transition. It's,
Yeah.
you know, you have a bit of nurturing and then you're kind of like, off you go.
Throw to the wolves mentality.
Yeah, fend for yourself kind of thing. And you're not really sure how things work. And you can kind of, you know, got your time to do what you want with, but it's like, you don't know, you haven't been taught really how to manage time because you've just had this like regimented sort of structure. So I actually found that, you know, quite difficult to deal with, I think, in terms of routine and things like that, and not being held accountable as much to things. But yeah, I started, so I did my art foundation. I wasn't enjoying it where I was. I was scared to go in elsewhere, although I did apply to other universities in case I didn't get in, and St Martin's offered me a place on what they call compact scheme. So I just panicked and accepted it. Well, I lasted a term in my degree and I was like, get me out of here. And that's when I went and did some work. So when I was thinking about in terms of what am I going to do with my life, starting from scratch, and there is something quite beautiful starting from scratch. Like, you don't, when you've got nothing left and you've hit rock bottom and you've kind of come out of everything, you've got nothing to take forward, so you can just rebuild from the start, and create something completely from scratch. And so a lot of my artwork at school was distorting bodies and faces, funnily enough. And I have, this only dawned on me about a year ago, but I've actually come, I think, like full circle. The things that I concern myself with at school when I was a teenager and young is exactly the same stuff as now, because all my artwork, when I was distorting bodies and faces, was always about society's pressure on us to conform to their ideals. And so that's what I was always exploring in my artwork, even you know, in my adolescence. So when last year, I think I was like mind blown. My God, this has been my life's work. And I didn't even know it. So I thought about prosthetics makeup, because I didn't actually make the link then. I wasn't even thinking why I was creating these projects, but I thought about the actual work that I was doing, and like with bread dough on my face and poly filler and shards of glass and all. It was very mixed media kind of stuff. And that's when I thought about prosthetics. So that led me into makeup artistry, because I thought I was going to be in film and theatre. And then that's kind of what made me in there. But what I discovered was that it was always about people for me. So that's how I moved into bridal hair and makeup and started building my bridal agency, or my bridal business. Then I turned it into an agency, because again, you know, when you're putting makeup on someone, like, cool, we do some cool stuff for filming when you've got like a gouged out eye and a bald cap, and you know, they're fun things to create. But fun for me, but most of the time, you know, it's straight corrective makeup. Like, it's not that fun, you know.
I was just thinking about a bride having that for her wedding day. That's why I laughed. No,
I haven't had any requests yet. Nor have I Halloween themed, like nothing, too crazy. But yeah, that was slightly different one for don't tell the bride, I think. Which I have been on, funnily enough. my 3 seconds of fame, I think, on that. But yeah, so and so, you know, doing makeup and hair for e-commerce shoots or something, you know, the model's just there to do a job. She doesn't really care. Everyone's just there to get paid. Whereas when you get a wedding, someone's wedding day, or, you know, a special occasion event, it's just, there's so much more connection there. You know, it's really like just high vibe most of the time, or it will be if it's not to start with. And yeah, it's just lovely to be part of, and again, to have, you know, conversations in the chair and make people feel, you know, special from the inside out, you know, not just on the outside. So that was really where I got called to, you know, kind of do more work with private clients, and we do some corporate stuff as well.
It's amazing, because I listen to you talk, and it's obvious your passion for what you do. But what I really love about it is that through your own experiences and through the work you've done, you're literally, feels like you're able to see, it's like a mirror ball, and you're able to see every kind of feeling and issue and insecurity and light that a woman will be dealing with her own self-image. It's like you understand the light and the dark. You understand the high points and the beauty and the inner beauty, but you also understand the shadow side of that. So when you're coming to speak to women, it's like, I got you. I know exactly, because I've been there. I've helped these women. I personally, like, it feels like you've gathered all this knowledge that you can now use in the work you do.
That was so beautiful. I'm so glad it's recorded. I'm going to steal that. I think you summed that up better than I ever could. But on that, you say about the light and the dark and the depth and the shallow, and we can't have one without the other. And in terms of, if we think about rehab, or people are like, oh, that's the biggest regret of my life, I totally cut my life up. And I am so thankful. I mean, my parents probably not, but I am so grateful for that, because I learned so much during that time in that therapy, in terms of my own self-awareness, and I know what lies beneath all of us as well, that we wouldn't even get to even scratch the surface on. Most people don't, but without having that experience, like, I wouldn't be nearly as self-aware as I am now. There's part of me sometimes that goes, I wish I didn't know as much as I did. It's like can of worms are open and I'm never getting back in the tin. But it of course has its advantages. And so in terms of, like, I'll always be an addict. I've got an addictive personality. I don't ever want to change that about myself. What happened after rehab, I basically had all this energy and I just channeled it into the wrong place. But if I wasn't like that, then I wouldn't have energy to channel anywhere. And so
absolutely,
is that rechanneling, and that's what I've done over the last well over a decade now, sort of 14 years, is channel it into the right place. So actually I don't ever want to lose those things about me that people would use as a not so desirable trait, as having addictive tendencies. I think it's great because it means I can get shit done when I want it done. I just have to make sure it's the right shit I'm doing.
I love that, because if the light has shade, then the shade has light, right? So your darkness, your insecurities, your crooked thinking, well, like you say, there's a positive in that, and it's using that positive with the right intentions that work for you, because you can't change who you are. This is the person that you were born to be. So rather than fighting it, it's use that energy in a positive way. And I really feel like you are, obviously, thank God that you really grasp that and are really going forward in that space, because I think a lot of people, that's the struggle. It's like fighting against the person that you were born to be, but you can't be anybody else. I can't be you and you can't be me. All you can be is yourself. And so it's using what you have to make it work for you. And it really sounds like you found a way to make that happen,
Absolutely. And it's such a waste for us not to be who we are, because while we're trying to deny parts of ourselves in order to be to be like other people, like, we're just diluting. Everybody then becomes the same. And I say this in some of my talks. Can you imagine a world where everybody looks identical? They've all got Botox fillers. There was a point where Instagram literally had the same face over it on different accounts, because the Kim Kardashian boomed with her contouring technique, and that just changes the bone structure. Everybody looks the same. Like, it was really boring. It's super boring. And our uniqueness is what attracts other people to us, authenticity. And it's also what attracts the right people to us. And so if we mess with that, then we mess with the signals, and then we wonder why the wrong opportunities are coming to us, like the wrong people are coming towards us.
It's so true. I mean, one of my biggest kind of lessons in life was that, because I'm somebody that tries to see the best in people, which of course has led me into interesting situations, shall we say. But I genuinely thought, well, if I like everybody, then why doesn't everybody like me? And one of the takeaways is you're not supposed to be liked by everybody. That's not how it works. You're not a jar of Nutella. You're not going to be liked by everybody. If you are, then actually you're a watered down version of yourself, or you're wearing a mask, or you're playing a role. And so then the people who like you for that gloss actually don't like you. They like what you're portraying, and they don't actually like the real you. So it feels shallow and it feels unfulfilling. And once I got that, I was like, oh, actually, now I like that people don't like me. Because I like that people do, but I'm glad that I have people that don't, because it shows me I'm doing something right.
Absolutely. You want to be polarizing both ends. The more you can the more people really dislike you, the more people will really like you. And I think, you know, in terms of business, this is very much, you know, talked about a lot. You want to polarize people, but, you know, as a person, like, you don't want to be agreeable. I think I used to want to be quite an agreeable person. And I was like the class clown at school as well. Like I was sort of, yeah, just kind of been by. I wasn't like excellent at anything. I didn't want to put myself too far out of the parameters. I wanted to kind of be agreeable, but I felt like I never fitted in anywhere because I didn't, my identity, and this is probably a whole other podcast, but you know, my identity was like, it was formed of so many different things. It wasn't actually my identity. I was forming it by other people in order to be liked and accepted, which is a very common thing, particularly of children to do, you know, finding their place in the world, because we have that obviously human need for connection, or that fundamental, and all animals do.
Of course, but if you're I say to people, I'm a recovering people pleaser, because I was always assimilating and camouflaging, and other people's needs and wants and desires were way more important than mine. And you know, trying to discover who am I away from all of that. What is my identity if I'm not trying to be like other people? That's kind of been one of the journeys I've been on, and I think it's one that most people need to go on at some point, because you can't live your life in somebody else's shadow. You just can't.
No, absolutely. And you need to spend time on your own to figure that out. And it depends where you live. You might live in a quiet place, and I've just run away from London, having lived there all my life up until February this year, to the countryside. So I live now in Wiltshire. I'm like, I can hear myself think, like I can actually formulate my own thoughts properly. Like I was really starting to struggle in London because, you know, the world is getting increasingly overpopulated. We're living in, you know, particularly if you're in a city, it's busy. And I think the demands as well from us, I mean, I'm speaking in general, whether you're an employee or you're a business owner, like what happened to the 9 to 5 and then the weekends off? People are on the weekends, they're working through the night, they don't ever switch off. And it's really hard to get your, you know, you're having to mix your personal and your work life together in order to try and kind of meet the needs, and then the lines get blurred. And you know, I think that's why a lot of people are hitting burnout as well, because they're just not switching off, and that balance is skew with. But you're not spending any time with yourself, like just regrounding, tuning into yourself to find out, you know, if you're okay, like what you need, make sure you get that need sort of met. It's just, you know, constantly fighting fires, it feels like.
I agree totally. I really do. And you know, for me personally, I lived in the Midlands for 25 years. I lived in Rugby in Warwickshire, and then I moved to Norwich in 2015. And for me personally, being by the coast is just like it's like a soothing balm to my soul. And I'm not one for swimming in the sea, because you know things don't want to eat you, but just being by the water and hearing it and seeing it just soothes me like nothing else. And so that's been really good for me and my overthinking brain. So yeah, I do think we all need to carve out time. I think for the longest time I found that hard. I didn't like silence. I was worried about what might happen if I was alone. Like it sounds like so stupid to say these things out loud, but I also know that other people will resonate with that. I think a lot of people feel that way.
It's so common, for all of us. Just I think you just get used to what you get used to, and anything out, you know, any change, as much as we're like, oh, change is exciting, it's not really deep down, it's threatening, it's scary, because it's not safe in a way. It's you know, the unknown. But then, you know, once you like build a habit with something, you do something consecutive, it's like, you know, it's not so scary, then comfort zone kind of goes out. But yeah, when you're used to being around people and busy, when that stops, it's like weird. And then your thoughts go, you know, wild. And I think this is why, you know, I say to people, and I was even saying to my mum, like not that long ago, I was like, please journal, mum, please do a bit of writing. Because when you distract yourself all day and you've got stuff going on, and she's had some stress going on, is that as soon as you lie down at night, when there's nothing to distract you, it's like, boom. And like, you know, your mind's going to go absolutely wild. Where if you're processing, just even carving out 10 minutes at lunchtime, just to have a check-in, just to see, at least you can let some of those come through. But if you spend the whole day pushing everything back, then as soon as you stop, it's like, boom, everything kind of comes forward. And, you know, just taking that time out to process little by little, as opposed
Yeah.
to large, oh, I'm going to have Sunday and just sit down and deal with the whole week's like stuff. That's not going to work. But little by little, you get in the habit of doing it, and everything's much more manageable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I started therapy this year, and it's just a boom. Like, I can't recommend it enough. It's not about, having mental health problems or whatever. It's about, I really think it just gives you that space that's just for you, where you can share and you can talk and you can work it through. It's just been wonderful, and I recommend it to everybody. I think it's so good for your brain, like you say, just to, rather than carrying it around with you, because we all do. You think that you're okay. It makes me laugh. My mum said, when a woman says, I'm fine, right? That's an acronym, because fine stands for fucked off, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. So when a woman says, I'm fine, she's not fine.
So that's what we learned in rehab. And I was like, and that's probably, I took loads of stuff out of there, but that was one of them. So when people do say, I'm like, do you know
how you really, right?
Yeah.
The one thing I wanted to really ask you, because you mentioned it at the top, and I think it's a lot of people I talk to are in that space of wanting to transition from one career to another. And so, I mean, obviously it's a big question, and I'm not expecting you to give me a full-on answer, but if you could kind of talk about how that felt and what helped you to make that transition, I think a lot of women would find that really helpful.
It's tough. It's
okay
tough.
Okay, bye.
Yeah. No, I want to just say that, like, it's tough, because if anyone's listening to this and they're struggling to do it, like, that is totally normal. Because depending how long you've been doing your career for, like, your identity, a lot of your identity is tied up in that, and we want to hold on to our identity at all costs. So it can be really hard to move on to something else. There's obviously also that fear of kind of unknown. So for me, and it's been a tricky one, because I was making my way. I wrote my book. It was kind of a bit like coming out the closet with, like, right, this is, I'm done with makeup. This is actually how I really feel about the industry. Like, I love people, but I'm going to do some work that I think is going to add more value. So I wrote this book and then released it. And then a week later went into lockdown. I'm like, oh crap. And we're obviously the most like un-COVID friendly businesses I could have had is with makeup, touching people's faces for a living, or just being close proximity, and events. There were none of live events, and there's not an equivalent to that. So at first it was like panic, income, and then second I was like, bloody brilliant, get to like focus on my coaching. I was writing a lot of content, I was doing like videos and stuff. And then when things kind of opened back up with postponements and things for like weddings and events, I got pulled back into the business to pick up some of the work and do the makeup and hair and stuff like that. So I feel like it's been even harder, because now I've had to kind of claw my way back out of it again, and so it's a stop starting. Whereas if and what I should have done is just let it go, and should have just held on to, especially all that momentum I built in lockdown with the direction I was going, because then also you start confusing people around you. It's like, well, are you doing this or are you doing this? And you have that within yourself, I think, is like, are you this person or are you this? So I think it takes actually a rewiring work with you and yourself as well, because it's not, you can see it on other people. If someone else is coming, you'd be like, yeah, it's fine, you're just going on to this and you're totally valid to do that thing. That makes sense. But for you, it's not what you've really done. It's not what you're known for by others. It's not what you're used to doing. So it can be tricky. So I just say, be prepared to do the work, not in a scary way, just do the work on yourself, because it's really hard to bypass that without working on your identity and your beliefs and kind of uprooting some of that, because you're going to have to replant elsewhere while you grow your new career. But I think, like everything, it's a process, it's a journey, it's as cliche as it sounds, and it takes time, and you can't speed that process up. You just have to let it kind of run its course and get comfortable with it.
Yeah, I mean, I know that for myself, it was really trusting and being honest with myself, away from the noise of the fear, which can be really loud, as we know. What was going on underneath that, intuitively, how was because I think if you drop down to your intuition, your gut feeling, that is really what you want to do. And away from the fear, it's kind of, that's the core of who you are. And if you can listen to that and act upon it, you will actually go in your right direction. Now, you may not know how it's going to happen or when it's going to happen, but at least you'll be facing your true north. At least you know, this is what I want to do, you know? I mean, when I rebranded and went from, you know, being the psychic tarot lady into women's empowerment, and now what I say to the people is I have an umbrella. So my absolute passion and purpose is women's empowerment, but I can hang lots of different stuff off that umbrella because it's all coming under that subject, if you like, that field heading. So that then was like, that was intuitively felt good for me, but you have to listen to what's right for you and be honest with yourself. You know, if you're lying to yourself, the only person you're cheating in that is you. You know, it's not about your mom or your partner or your kids. It's what's right for you, you know?
Yeah. And we do kid ourselves, don't we?
Oh yeah, it's easy. You can talk yourself in and out of anything if you give yourself enough time.
Yeah. So, well, there you go. It's time again. Time will tell. So yeah, give yourself a good amount of time, but not too much amount of time that you then talk yourself back out of it. But yeah, I think other people, again, that's why it's so important to take that alone time, particularly if you're transitioning career, because other people get in your heads. And certainly, you know, on a generational thing, and I know this comes up a lot for people, is and I notice it now because I fear for the generation below me, and my parents, you know, they fear, they're like, how does your world work? Like, we don't understand this. Like, what is this job? Like, what do you do? Like, you know, there's so many different things. You know, we're in a new era. Like, a lot of jobs are being replaced anyway. Like, you know, admin, secretarial stuff. So that's all changing. But you can, you know, just also be careful about who you're talking to in terms of what you're doing. And just make sure you're in a good, it actually doesn't matter how great you feel about it. You know, people can knock the wind right out of your sails very, very quickly if you don't put, you know, boundaries in place, and just be aware of who you're talking to as well.
Absolutely. Keep it close, because, you know, you want your cheerleaders, but you don't always know who your cheerleaders are. And you think it's the people closest to you because you think, well, they love me and they support me, so why wouldn't they cheer me on? But people project their own fear. So you have to be really careful who you're letting into those dreams, because you don't want people to just rain on them completely and put them out.
100%. I just did an Instagram video on that, like, I was doing these daily story shares, and I wasn't planning on sharing about that. And then someone had DM'd me saying, how do you you know, I'm trying to be really, really positive, but how do you deal with being constantly around negative people or family that will not change their thinking? And then she kind of answered her own question when she sent another message back going, actually, if you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, then I totally understand why I struggle to be positive. You know, and that's that there. But, you know, I explained on that one that, you know, it's a really common thing, you know, with family, and it's not because people they want to shoot you down and they don't have your best interests at heart. It's actually because they do, and they are fearful for you, because what you're doing seems extremely unsafe, and they don't want you to get hurt. And also, particularly with parents, they want to protect more than anything. So as you said, the fear is projected. So before we're like, oh, this person's negative and toxic, I think it's better energy anyway to come from a kind of a compassionate place, that, you know, perhaps that's actually more likely what's happening. And in which case, let's not hate the person for it or get frustrated, annoyed at them. Let's appreciate that they, you know, are coming from a loving place. And maybe we just don't talk about certain things with that person, and we talk about, because it is good to talk and sound out ideas. Maybe we find, you know, a group of people or a person that's a bit more aligned with our values and our passions and purposes that can support us with that.
I love that, and I so agree. It just changes the nature of the conversation. So yeah, I think looking at why people are saying what they're saying just helps you then to make sure that you're approaching each person in their own unique and beautiful way.
As you would want them to do to you.
Yeah, exactly. So you've mentioned a book a few times, but you've not given us any details. And I feel like we'd be a crying criminal shame for me not to let you at least give one plug. So tell me about the book. Where can we find it? What's it all about?
I should have one in front of me, and I
you
don't.
Should. You know, we're not very proud of this stuff, but you know.
We're in.
Hey, there it is.
There we go. So yeah, it's called #NoFilterNeeded. kicking unobtainable standards to the curb and reimagining the power within yourself.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. And so, as I said, it's got the beauty bullshit busting section where it outs the marketing tactics of the beauty industry. But really, you know, the book is designed to guide its reader to build confidence, you know, to identify the awesome stuff about them and build confidence from the inside out. And it, you know, starts with my bit of a background from me and actually how we have used changing our appearance to solicit power and status for like thousands of years. So it's nothing new. It's not just something we've kind of come up with. It's always been going on in some shape and form. But really the true, you know, true confidence comes from within. So that's what that book is designed to do. To get...
And is that on Amazon? Is it?
It's on Amazon. And I also, another beneficial thing of lockdown is I recorded the audio version because I had all.
Nice.
So it's on Audible too, and Waterstones, I think, as well. But I think Amazon is a lot quicker.
Okay, so finish this, watching this podcast, and everybody jump over to Amazon and go and grab a copy. And then while I'm checking it out, definitely. Like, yeah, especially if it's my birthday in a couple of weeks. So, you know, maybe get my... It is recording this. So, yeah, I'll go and check it out. So, my darling, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. I knew it would be. The minute we started talking, I was like, oh, this is going to be a good one. So, for people who perhaps want to find out more about you and the work that you do, and obviously I'll put out all your links in the show notes down here, but where can we find you online?
You can find me many places, the usual spots. I probably hang out most on Instagram. So it's at Camilla J. Collins. And then my website with all the links and things on is camillacollins.com. I've also got some free downloads as well. There's a self-sabotaging masterclass, about 30 minutes. Well, overcoming self-sabotage. You don't want to encourage you to do more of it. And productivity and time hacks as well on there. And then also a confidence ebook, which is a free download. So grab those if they sound beneficial to you. And then, yeah, lots more information on the website.
Fab. There's loads of good stuff over there. So that everyone will be running. But so finish the podcast first, then I'll let you go. Thank you so much for coming. Honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. It's been fascinating, and I thank you for your authenticity, your vulnerability, your honesty. I think you've come across as being the real deal, somebody who walks the talk and is really passionate about what they do. And you know, if anybody is sparked by this conversation, or you know, it's triggered them in any way, then you know, please reach out to Camilla, because I think that she's going to really, really help you. So just thank you so much, my darling, honestly.
You're amazing. Thank you so much. It's been really wonderful conversation and just a real pleasure to be here. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. And thank you to you guys for watching. As per, you're amazing. I send you so much love. If you could give me a little subscribe and a follow, I'd really appreciate it. But elsewise, I shall see you on the next one. Lots of love. Bye.